FAA furlough fiasco. And now the CEO of the world's largest airline is joining the chorus of critics. United CEO Jeff Simsek says that investors in morning, quote, I'm going to quote, "We are disappointed that the FAA chose this path that maximizes customer disruptions and damage to airlines instead of choosing a less disruptive measure to comply with the budget obligations." All right, he's an unhappy camper. But in Washington this evening, there was hope for some sort of compromise. That may have changed. Chief Washington correspondent John Harwood joins us now with the details. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Larry. It's been a roller coaster day, as crazy as the sequester itself. You know, the administration predicted some time ago that flight delays would happen and the fallout would be there. Congress went ahead, did not choose to avert the sequester at that time. Now, 30 days after the furlough notices went out, furloughs have taken place, sequester has hit, flight delays are happening. Congress today had got deeply into talks about trying to avert those flight delays. The talks collapsed in late afternoon. Now they're back on, and I just got off the phone, Larry, with a Democratic leadership source who says before your program goes off the air, the Senate may, by unanimous consent, agree to a provision that would give flexibility to the Secretary of Transportation, Ray LaHood, to move money around in order to prevent further flight delays. The amount involved is pretty small. Only $253 million, and it doesn't resolve, of course, the other aspects of the sequester. But on this one, it appears, not certain, but appears that Congress is going to, the Senate's going to do this tonight. The House would be expected to act tomorrow.
All right, John, $253 million. This is dealing right with the FAA issue, right? No other issue regarding the sequester.
Exactly. It wouldn't resolve anything about food safety or Head Start or the defense budget, which has been cut proportionally more than domestic spending. It simply allows for the furloughs to controllers, which has caused the traffic to stack up and the flights to be delayed, that to be averted through the end of this fiscal year, only through the end of this fiscal year. The thinking of those on the Hill, certainly at the White House and Democrats on the Hill, is that more and more consequences of the sequester will pop up after this and will create momentum as we get closer to that debt ceiling vote in August for negotiations to resolve it with a broader package. It would have entitlement reform. Democrats want tax increases as well. But all of that is speculation about the future. What's happening and appears likely to happen tonight is a deal on this proposal by John Thune, the senator from North Dakota, and Jay Rockefeller from West Virginia to resolve this by moving $253 million to avert flight delays. All
right, we'll leave it there. We'll see if the deal comes through. Many thanks, John Harwood. Appreciate the update. Here now we have Kansas Republican Senator Jerry Moran, who is an open critic of the administration's short-sighted decisions to furlough air traffic controllers and close 149 control towers. He's also co-authored the Protect Our Skies Act. Mr. Moran, as always, sir, welcome back to the Kudlow Report. Is there any kind of deal that's going to end this FAA furloughs and all these flying delays?
Larry, isn't this just the kind of thing that the American people hate about Washington, D.C.? And I hope that we can overcome that with a deal to be struck. And that work is ongoing. The Senate, of course, is in session. There is an effort to get a bill or an amendment onto a bill that's pending before the Senate that brings Republicans and Democrats together. This clearly is not a partisan issue. In fact, in many ways, this is the Congress versus the administration. But Republicans and Democrats in the Senate are clearly working together to find that solution.
Well, you know, as an old budget guy, I worked for Reagan's OMB many years ago. There's two words here that are very important. One is reprogram, and the second is sub-accounts. They have the authority to reprogram sub-accounts and hence shift money into the controller's account. Why don't they just do that and stop all this rigmarole that's breaking up our whole air traffic system?
Well, this is craziness. It started out with the closing of 149 control towers, followed now by furloughing of hundreds, thousands of employees, controllers within the FAA. I've asked the FAA administrator, Mr. Huerta, that same question that you just asked me, and there is no good answer, which just lends itself to the reality that this administration wants to make the reduction and the increase in spending this political issue so that there's pressure upon members of Congress to eliminate sequestration or raise taxes, whatever the goal is. No business would operate this way. Every business person would try to accommodate their customers, and there are millions of dollars that don't affect the control towers or the controllers that, as you say, the FAA could take money from to pay for. The amendment I offered on the Senate floor was out of unspent money, unencumbered balances.
Right.
And in fact, Mr. Warda, I asked him why they didn't use them, and he said, well, we don't have the authority to do that. And I said, well, if that's true, why did you not then allow me to give you the authority? As you may recall, the Secretary of Transportation told me that the administration opposes my amendment to take money out of unspent accounts and put it into control towers.
I think he's got the budget authority, and I think he'd get it from the Appropriations Committee. When he says he doesn't have the authority, Mr. Moran, I think what he's really saying is he doesn't have the political authority from the White House, because you tell me if I'm wrong. I have seen this from day one as a battle to stop the spending cut sequester and instead substitute a $1.2 trillion tax hike. I've seen it just as plain as day, because all these games and shenanigans inside the FAA and other could all be fixed. They want to raise taxes, not cut spending. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. And Larry, what I would say is have the debate about taxes and spending, but don't hold the American people hostage, their safety, their convenience, to try to score a political point, which I just have no other explanation for what's happening here. And incidentally, the amount of money the FAA has is currently more than what the president requested in his budget.
Right.
There's no reason for this except a political effort to try to force Congress to do something that the president wants us to do.
Well,
the sad thing is Americans shouldn't pay the price for that.
Last 5 years, they've had gigantic budget increases. We all know that. So let me just ask you, just to summarize this thing, is there going to be a deal? Is there going to be a deal that somehow gives either the Department of Transportation or specifically the FAA more liberalization, more flexibility? I mean, how do you read this? You got the head of United Airlines is getting very angry. They say there's no cooperation between the FAA and the major air carriers. How's this end up, and when's this end up?
Well, first of all, I would say that they don't need additional authority, but because they won't use the authority they have, I think Congress will end up and give them or mandate the FAA, the Department of Transportation, solve this problem. And the difference is that members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, respond to their constituent issues and pressures, and the White House wants to create a political issue.
So when? You're off next week, so that's not going to do it.
This is in the works as we speak.
All right. Well, let's hope so. Senator Jerry Moran,
let's hope
Kansas.
so.
I appreciate it very much, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Larry.
All right. As we speak, we'll see. Maybe.